The road where their skin changed the sun was still high over the hard border road when 10 men stopped at a distance and shouted with ruined throats. Dust clung to their ankles. Their clothes hung loose like old sacks, and no one would let them come near enough to cast a shadow across clean ground. Then one voice from the road ahead answered them, and the next few steps would split their lives in two. Before this ends, you will see 4 things that happened on the road after Jesus told them to go to the priests. The mercy cry that rose from men already counted dead. The healing that came before any hand touched them. The priestly road back into life that only one man truly understood. And the turn of a Samaritan who came back across every hated line to fall at the feet of the one who gave more than skin. Stay with this moment. Everything in this story hangs on what happened after the command, not before it. Luke places this scene where borders cut the land like scars between Samaria and Galilee in a strip of earth that belonged to everyone on a map and to no one in peace. That matters. These 10 men are standing where divided people end up when all the named places spit them out. Jews and Samaritans lived with a long wound between them. A temple had been ruined. Holy ground had been argued over. One people looked to Jerusalem. The other held fast to Gerizim. One guarded one set of sacred books. The other kept to another line. The fight was old enough that boys had heard it from grandfathers, and grandfathers from bones long buried. And now the border had done a strange thing. It had taken men who should never have stood together and made them a single broken company. That is the first shock. They are 10, not 9, not 11, 10, a full company. A minyan, a gathered count, the number needed for public prayer and holy witness. Think about that. The clean world had pushed them outside the camp, outside the towns, outside worship, and yet right there in the waste ground of shame, a sacred number stood breathing the same dust. They had no doorway, no bench, no lampstand, no seat among the living, and still their pain had made them a kind of congregation. And what had done this to them was called sarat. Hold that word in your mind, not just sickness as people say it now, not only a body gone wrong. Sarat could mark skin, yes, but also cloth, walls, houses. It was a sign of ritual uncleanness, a mark that cut a person off from touch, from table, from temple, from the ordinary joy of being counted among human beings. A man with sarat was not merely sick, he was socially dead, religiously dead, dead while breathing. He had to live apart. He had to warn others. The same mouth that had once kissed children, blessed bread, laughed with brothers, or prayed in the feast days now had one legal cry, impure, impure. Imagine what years like that do to a voice. Men who were forced to call themselves. Dead they saw Jesus before he reached them. But they did not run to him. They knew the law too well. Distance had become their prison and their training. Even hope had to stand far off. So they lifted up their voices together, and their prayer was stripped of every pretty word. Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. That cry is clean in a way polished religion often is not. No bargaining, no long speech, no claim to goodness, no list of reasons they deserved help, just mercy. In the Greek tongue, eleos. Mercy for men who had nothing left to trade. Mercy from those who could not walk into town, could not lay a hand on a synagogue wall, could not bring a lamb to the altar, could not hold a wife without fear in her eyes. This is what prayer sounds like when every decoration has been burned away. The first thing no one talks about is that these men ask together before any one of them is healed alone. Their need has made one body out of enemies. A Jew may have once crossed a street rather than brush a Samaritan's sleeve. A Samaritan may have cursed the road to Jerusalem under his breath. But Sarat had stripped them down to a truth deeper than old arguments. Exile had levelled them. Shared shame had done what sermons often fail to do. It had put them shoulder to shoulder at a legal distance, crying one prayer with one cracked sound. See the scene clearly. Torn garments, covered lips, the hot wind pushing the smell of dust and old skin across the roadside. 10 men who had likely learned the names of each other's children, because no one else would come near enough to speak. 10 men who had watched each other wake, cough, bleed, fear, rage, and fade. 10 men in the land of no one, and now Jesus stops. In other healing stories, hands touch, mud is made. Fingers rest on ruined flesh, but not here. Luke makes you feel the space. Jesus does not cross the line with a public act of contact. He answers inside the law's own distance, and yet breaks the law's final claim by his word alone. That is not less power. It is more. No hand touches them because no hand has to. He does not say, "You are healed." He does not pause for comfort. He gives them an order. Go and show yourselves to the priests. At first, that command sounds almost hard. Go show yourselves while you still look the same. Go stand before priests with skin that still tells the old story. Go begin the walk before there is any proof. Slow this moment down. They have begged for mercy, and mercy arrives in the form of a road. This is where the battle starts inside them. A priest could examine skin. A priest could name a clean day. A priest could lead the rites of return. But a priest could not start with a lie. So what does a man do when a healer tells him to go before healing can be seen? One step says, "I trust your word more than my eyes." Another step says, "I am obeying into a future I cannot yet touch." This is faith in motion, not faith in talk. And this road was not short in the soul. Some of them would need to go toward Jewish priests. One of them, the Samaritan, carried a deeper wound. Even healed, where does he fully belong? Which gate would open for him? Which holy center would receive him without contempt? The command is simple, but it runs straight through history, law, shame, and old blood. Do not rush past that. When mercy chose the long road, instead of the quick touch, the strangest part of the story is not that 10 men were healed. The strangest part is when it happened. Luke says, "As they went, they were cleansed, not while they begged, not while Jesus looked at them, not after the priests spoke. On the road, in the going, in the obedience itself, picture the first seconds. Sand sticking to the heel. A man glancing at his own wrist because something feels different there. Another tugging at a sleeve where the cloth had stopped touching numb skin long ago. One man rubbing the back of his hand and finding strength under it. Another staring at a patch that had spread for months and now is drawing in like smoke in reverse. The air does not split with thunder. The border does not shake. Flesh simply begins to return while feet are still moving. That is the second thing that happened on the road. The cure came before the proof of welcome. They were cleansed before they were received. Before any priest could speak, before any town could reopen its gate, before any family had embraced them. The word of Jesus moved faster than the institutions that would later confirm what had already been done. Now stay in that slow motion scene. One man reaches for his own cheek with the care of someone touching a stranger. His fingers expect roughness and find smooth skin. Another pulls back the cloth from his mouth and takes a deeper breath, as if clean air itself belongs to him again. Another begins to laugh and then chokes on the sound because he has forgotten how laughter feels when it does not turn into warning. A fourth man stops dead, and the others shout at him to keep walking because no one wants to break the command now that mercy is moving through their bodies. And something else is happening. Their voices are changing. Once those voices had one job, impure, stay back, do not come near. Now the same throats begin to fill with a sound they were not allowed to use in public life, wonder, praise, hope. The very organ of exile is turning into the organ of worship. There is an old pattern here, and Luke wants you to feel it. Like Naaman long before, healing does not bow to pride. It waits for obedience. It waits for the step that feels small, even foolish. Water did not look like glory to Naaman. A walk to the priests did not look like life to these 10 men, but heaven often hides its greatest turns inside plain commands. And still, the road ahead is not just a road to health. It is a road to ritual return. This is where many readers stop too soon, as if clean skin were the end. It was not the end. It was the doorway to a longer restoration, and every one of those men knew it. Because if a man was declared clean from Sarat, he did not simply go home and resume life by sunset. He entered a holy process: birds, running water, cedar wood, scarlet thread, hyssop, washing, shaving, waiting 7 days. Then on the 8th day, blood placed on the right ear, the right thumb, the right big toe, oil on the same places, ear to hear God, thumb to do God's work, toe to walk in God's way. These are not random motions. These are the marks of consecration, the same pattern used when priests were set apart. Take that in. The outcast was not merely relabeled. He was restored through a rite that echoed ordination. His hearing, his work, his walk were touched like a servant now being given back to God. He came from social death and was led through signs of sacred calling. The road to the priest was a road to re-entry, yes, but also a road that whispered a greater message. You are not trash recovered from the edge of town. You are a person set back into holy life. No wonder they hurried, the rite that did more than give them their names. Back once the first shock passed, the minds of the 10 must have raced ahead of their feet. Home, wives, mothers, children grown taller in their absence, doors once closed now opening, bread eaten at a common table, a bed under a roof instead of cold ground outside the line of safety. But first came the priest. The third thing that happened on that road was this: those 10 men were walking toward more than a clean bill. They were walking toward public resurrection. A priest did not heal Tarat. He witnessed its end. He examined, declared, and started the rite that turned a cast-out body into a welcomed body. Until that happened, the healed man was still standing between worlds. That explains the power of Jesus' command. He does not tell them to dream. He tells them to move toward the exact place where their new life must be named out loud. Faith here is not fog. It is not warm feeling. It is feet on a road toward inspection, toward witnesses, toward costly public return, and that rite itself carried holy fire inside it. After the first cleansing came 7 days. 7, the number of waiting, fullness, and the world remade. Then the 8th day, the day after the full cycle, the day of fresh start. The man would be marked with blood and oil on ear, thumb, and toe. Right ear, right thumb, right toe, hear, act, walk. These details matter because the body that had once been untouchable is now being claimed, piece by piece, for living fellowship again. Imagine one of the 9 as he walks. He is thinking of that 8th day before it comes. He is thinking of the priest lifting blood toward his ear. He is thinking of oil glistening on skin that only an hour ago looked condemned. He is thinking of the first meal in the village when no one flinches from his hand reaching into the bowl. He is not evil. He is not false. He is a man racing toward the life he lost. That matters because this story is sharper than a simple tale of good man, bad men. The 9 obey. They do what Jesus said. They keep moving toward the priests. In that sense, they are faithful. But a holy split is about to open between obedience and recognition. Now enter the Samaritan's side of this road. Feel his wound from the inside. He has lived under 2 exiles at once. Tzaraat drove him from human touch, and his bloodline marked him as a stranger in Jewish eyes, even if his skin were clean. He knows the old sneers. He knows what sacred argument sounds like when it turns into contempt. He knows what it is to be measured before he is heard. Maybe he has heard men speak of Gerizim with a curl in the lip. Maybe he has heard Jerusalem named in ways that made his chest harden. Maybe he has carried the shame of both histories at once. And now his skin is changing under the same mercy that changed Jewish skin beside him. Can you see the force of that? The border that hate created becomes the place where grace makes no such split. The law had cast them out together. Mercy finds them together. Healing falls on all 10 without asking which mountain their fathers named holy. Yet once the healing starts, the old roads pull again. The Jewish men can picture the priest, the ruling, the path home. But what burns in the Samaritan as his flesh clears? Where, in human terms, does he run first? To a system that still names him outsider? To a center that may certify the skin but never fully welcome the man? Something is about to happen inside him that the others do not feel in the same way. Watch carefully. When one man heard more, then an order the moment of turning is small to the eye and massive to the soul. The Samaritan sees that he is healed, and suddenly the command to go is no longer the deepest command in the air. Another truth rises above it. The one who did this is behind him, still on the road. That is why he turns back. The fourth thing no one can afford to miss is that the Samaritan does not merely feel thankful. He recognizes the giver. This is the split in the story. 9 men keep moving toward the gift becoming official. One man reverses course because he cannot let the giver stand unthanked on the road. Luke makes the sound of it impossible to miss. He returned with a loud voice glorifying God. Loud, the same voice that may once have been forced to cry, impure now becomes a trumpet of praise. What exile had trained for warning, mercy now frees for worship. The mouth that had guarded the clean from contamination now announces the glory of God in open air. Stay in that slow motion scene. He stops mid-step. The others are still moving. Dust rises around their ankles. The sun throws sharp light over the border path. He lifts his hand to his face again, and there is no mistake now. Whole skin, living skin. He turns. His chest tightens. His feet begin to strike the road back the other way. The men beside him may shout his name. One may think he is mad. Another may wave him on toward the priests. But he is already gone, not away from obedience in rebellion, but beyond bare obedience into recognition. This is not a soft thank you thrown over the shoulder. He comes all the way back. He falls on his face at Jesus' feet, face to dust, hands stretched low. The body that had been kept at a distance now closes the space in worship. The foreigner crosses the line. The outsider bows where insiders kept walking. Do not look away from that reversal. Luke adds the knife twist. And he was a Samaritan. Of course he was. In this gospel, the outsider often sees what the respectable miss. The poor, the sinner, the widow, the stranger, the one with no standing, the one the crowd has already judged. Again and again, such a person becomes the mirror held up to everyone else. Here it is the Samaritan who does not confuse process with person. Jesus asks the questions that make the silence ring. Were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? A foreigner. The word lands hard. The one marked beyond the circle becomes the only one who truly reads the moment, and then comes the word spoken only to him. Rise and go your way. Your faith has saved you. All 10 were cleansed. Only one hears this. That tells you the story is pressing beyond skin. The Greek word is sozo, saved, made whole in the fullest way. This is healing that reaches the soul through recognition. The others receive the gift. This man receives the gift and sees the face of the giver inside it. Mark this well. The 9 are not cursed for disobedience. They are not mocked as lazy men. They are men moving in the right direction with incomplete sight. That is what makes the warning so sharp. It is possible to obey and still miss the deepest thing happening. It is possible to run toward religion's right steps and not turn back in wonder at the one who met you on the road. That warning should land like a hammer. The border was never. Only on the map now the story opens wider, and the border road becomes a map of the human heart. Samaria and Galilee were not only places on the ground. They were symbols of divided memory, wounded identity, and guarded holiness. One road, 2 histories, 10 broken men standing in between, and right there mercy chose to work. This is why the scene burns with more than one kind of power. It is not just about disease, it is about exclusion. Tzara'at had already pushed these men out of ordinary life. Ethnic hate had already taught them where they did not belong. Ritual law had drawn hard lines. Sacred arguments had hardened into social walls. Yet God's mercy appears not in the center, not under easy lamps, not where people feel safe in their own rightness, but out at the margins where the rejected have built a fragile fellowship of pain. Look at the number again. 10, a full count, a gathered body in the waste place. They are what the holy city would not call them. They are in a fierce and hidden way already a witness, a minion of exiles, a quorum of the unwanted, a little assembly formed by loss, standing far off, speaking one plea, let that image stay with you. And notice how Jesus handles the law. He does not mock it. He does not pretend the priestly process means nothing. He sends them into it. He honors the way return would be named in their world. Yet by healing them before the priest speaks, he shows that the priest confirms what mercy has already done. The center is not the source. The border is not beyond reach. God is not waiting behind walls, hoping the outcast can make it back alone. This reaches right into the oldest human fear. If I am outside, will God wait for me to climb back clean before he looks my way? This story answers with a road and a voice, no. Mercy speaks first. Grace starts at a distance. God moves toward the cast out before the cast out can prove anything to anyone. And yet the story cuts another way too. The Samaritan shows that restoration without return of heart is still missing something. A person can be helped and keep walking. A person can receive a miracle and turn it at once into schedule, process, next steps, normal life. A person can run toward being accepted again and forget to fall down in the dust before the one who restored him. Meet your own soul here. Not with shame first, with honesty. How many people pray hard from the border and grow quiet again? The moment relief comes. How many cry for mercy with tears, then spend the answered life as if the answer belonged to them by right? How many want the open door, the healed skin, the return to the crowd, the lifting of fear, the restored name, the fixed home, the clean report, the good news, and never turn back to the giver with a loud voice? This is why the story keeps breathing long after the road is empty. It is not only about 10 ancient men. It is about every heart that knows how to ask and must learn how to return. When the outcast became the mirror for everyone. Listening now, the story turns toward you, not at the start, not too soon. Here, in the final stretch, where the dust of that road has settled over your own life if you have listened well. Because most people do not live in the village center all the time. Sooner or later, almost everyone stands somewhere on a border after loss, a border after shame, a border after sickness, a border after sin, a border after being told in 100 cruel ways that you are less, late, stained, unwanted beyond the line. And when that happens, this story does not send you first to polish your speech. It does not tell you to gather your worth. It does not tell you to hide the wound until you can explain it well. It puts 4 words in your mouth that heaven hears. Have mercy on us. Say it in the dark. Say it when no one else knows what to do with your pain. Say it when your own life feels like a place between places. Say it when your name has started to sound strange to you. Mercy is not a small prayer. Mercy is how the dying ask for life, but then comes the harder part. When the word of God sends you down a road before the proof appears, will you walk? When the first step feels foolish, will you take the second? When healing begins in motion instead of in stillness, will you trust the process of obedience? There are moments when faith is not a shout, it is a footstep, and when the answer comes, when the door opens, when the body calms, when the grief softens, when the chain breaks, when the home is restored, when the fear loosens, what then? This is the place where many people become like the 9 without ever meaning to. They are glad, they are relieved, they are moving in the right direction. But they do not turn back. They do not drop to the dust. They do not let their voice become praise. Friend, do not stop at the gift. Turn back return with the same mouth that once cried in pain. Return with the same eyes that once could only search the road for help. Return with the same hands that once shook in need. Return because the deepest healing is not only that your skin changed. It is that your heart recognized who stood on the road when no one else would come near. And if you have lived as the Samaritan lived, carrying more than one wound at once, hear this plainly. If you have known what it is to be kept outside by the clean and judged by the sure, if you have felt the old ache of being measured before being loved, if your life has been marked by a label others use to lower you, this story places the highest honor in your hands. The one called foreigner becomes the example of saving faith. The one people expect least from is the one who sees most. That means your border is not the end of your story. It may become the place where you see Jesus most clearly. So pray now, not as a watcher, but as one of the 10, Lord Jesus, have mercy on us. Lord Jesus, have mercy on us. Lord Jesus, have mercy on us. When I keep walking with your gifts and forget your face, turn me back. When I obey with my feet but not with my heart, turn me back. When old shame tells me I still belong outside, call me by your mercy and turn me back. Say this with me now. You healed me on the road. You healed me on the road. You healed me on the road. And say this too. I will turn back and give you praise. I will turn back and give you praise. I will turn back and give you praise. One more line. Save me all the way. Save me all the way. Save me all the way. This is the great swing of the whole story. Men thought they needed skin restored, and one man discovered he was being brought into something even deeper. A crowd might welcome you back and still not know what happened on your road. A priest might certify the change and still not be the center of the miracle. But when you fall at the feet of Jesus and know him as the giver, not just the giver of things, you are no longer only healed. You are being made whole. If this found you tonight on some border of your own life, stay near this road with us. There are more stories where the rejected become first, where mercy reaches farther than walls, and where the one left outside becomes the one who sees. And here is the question this road leaves burning for the next night. After mercy changes a person, why do some hurry toward the crowd while others fall at the feet of God?